Lesson 67. Discourse markers in spoken English. What are discourse markers? Let's begin by understanding what discourse markers actually are. These are small words or expressions that we use to organize our speech, comment on what we are saying, or frame our message in a particular way. Take the word well as a simple example. If someone asks you, so you live in Boston, and you reply, well, near Boston, that little word is doing a lot of work. It signals that you are not giving the straightforward answer the other person expected. Instead, you are shifting the direction of the conversation slightly. Another common situation is in the classroom. Teachers often use words like right or okay to structure the lesson and keep things moving. For instance, a teacher might say, right, let's have a look at exercise 3, or okay, time to move on. These markers help the speaker control the flow and tell everyone what is happening next. Organizing a conversation. Now let's explore some expressions that help us manage the different stages of a conversation. If you want to move things forward, you might say, now, what shall we do next? Or, so, would you like to come to the table now, please? When you are confirming a plan or closing a topic, you could say, good, I'll ring you on Thursday then. Or if you want to bring someone back to a previous point, you might ask, well then, what was it you wanted to talk about? If you are in a position of authority, like a teacher leading a group, you might say, now then, I want you to look at this picture. This is a clear way to direct attention and take control. To end a conversation on a positive note, people often use markers like fine or great. For example, great. Let's meet again next week then, shall we? And what happens when you get interrupted or lose your train of thought? You can say, so, where was I? I was telling you about my aunt. That so helps you pick up the thread and return to the main story. Modifying and commenting on what you say. Now let's look at how we use discourse markers to add extra thoughts or comment on our own words during a conversation. Imagine this exchange. A, it's cold, isn't it? B, yeah. A, mind you, it's November, so it's not surprising. Here, mind you functions like, however. It introduces an afterthought that adds a contrasting or balancing idea. If someone asks you for information and you need a moment to think, you might say, let me see, I have it here somewhere. This is a classic hesitation marker. It simply buys you some time to gather your thoughts. When you want to make a suggestion or introduce an important point, you can say, listen, or look, why don't you let me sort it out? These words are used to grab the listener's attention and signal that what comes next is significant. And if someone tries to cut you off mid-sentence, you can say, hang on, or hold on. Let me tell you what he said. This is a way of protecting your turn to speak and preventing an interruption. Other useful discourse markers. There are many more discourse markers that are incredibly useful in everyday speech. When you need to explain something, you might say, I can't do that. You see, I'm not the boss here. The marker you see introduces a reason or clarification. If you are hesitating or searching for the right word, you could say, he was, sort of, just standing there. Or if you are unsure about the best way to describe something, you might say, he was wearing this, kind of, or like, cowboy hat. When you want to change the topic or signal that the conversation is ending, you can use anyway. For example, so that's what we have to do. Anyway, I'll ring you tomorrow. To contrast two ideas or points, you could say, it rained all day yesterday. Still, we can't complain. It was fine all last week. Alternatively, you could use on the other hand in a similar way to introduce a different perspective. If you need to clarify what you mean, you can say, we shouldn't be too hard on him. I mean, he's only a child. This helps the listener understand your point more clearly. In informal spoken English, people also use letters like A, B, and C to list their points in a clear and organized way. For example, Stella, why aren't you going this evening? Adam, well, A, I haven't got any money, and B, it's too far anyway. This method makes the list easy to follow and sounds very natural in casual conversation. A final thought. It is worth remembering that these discourse markers can be difficult to catch when people speak quickly. However, if you find yourself in a relaxed listening situation, perhaps you are overhearing a conversation, watching a film, or listening to informal speech on the radio, it becomes much easier to notice and recognize them. So next time you are listening to English, try to tune your ear to these small but powerful expressions. They are truly the glue that holds natural spoken English together.